Parliament right here on Active Citizens. My name is Ifoma Oji, and today we ask a simple question. Now, when the same action receives two different reactions depending on who is in power, are we still defending principles or are we defending politics? And that is the conversation Nigeria must have this evening. Our first story is taking us our first story for this evening is one of taking us to one of the Nigerians' most respected elder statesman, Cardinal John Onyekan. Years ago, when he criticized the Goodluck Jonathan administration, many of today's APC leaders described him as an icon, a fearless patriot speaking truth to power. Now, today, the same Cardinal has raised concerns about Nigerians' insecurity and democracy and the conduct of elections under the Tinubu's administration. And suddenly, those who once applauded him are now attacking him. And as Arise TV Rufai Oseni said that what exactly changed, we will be taking a look at the video, and when we come back, more conversations will follow through. Let's take a look.
Here I talk about the hypocrisy of the APC this morning. What a job to do. I don't need to talk much as regards this Onyekan debacle. All I'll do is I'll take you back to 2014 November. My colleague seated here with me, Dr. Abati, remembers that interface. November 2014 in the villa. A certain Cardinal John Onyekan came to the villa. He said things were not well in the country. This same APC called Cardinal John Onyekan a voice of reason. They praised him to the high heavens, this same APC. They said everything well about Cardinal John Onyekan. In fact, there are many APC people that saw him as a symbol of speaking truth to power. They were happy to take pictures with him in public and call him our own Oscar Romero. They loved him, they lapped him up. They took Cardinal Onyekan's criticism and they lapped it up. My colleague here, Dr. Abati, was on the receiving end then. But the question we shall ask them today is, what changed? Isn't Cardinal Onyekan a bastion of speaking truth to power any longer? Oh, there was no problem with it when Cardinal Onyekan spoke truth to power against Goodluck Jonathan. You lapped it up, you took the sound bite, you said it was a divine representation that things were not well. But when he says the same thing to you, because Cardinal Onyekan is constant as a northern star, then you start to legislate and lecture him on spiritual and, can I use the word, ecclesiastical and episcopal matters. But when he said it in 2015, on 2014, it was a good thing then. So for all of those that have replied and said one or two things about Cardinal Onyekan, yes, you will say those things to justify your paymasters and make it look as if you're working for your paymasters. You wouldn't do otherwise, because you have to defend where you're earning your pay. But can't you see that your hypocrisy speaks so loud? People cannot hear what you say, like Ralph Waldo Emerson says. Can't you see it is shocking that you yourself that are suffering the biting economic pangs and the conditions in this country, that more people have had to ask you for money and more people have had to depend on you because you're in government? Can't you see that it is hypocritical? Because you must not be seen to come outside to say things are not well when you deeply know that things are well.
Story moved to the heart of Nigeria's democracy, the Osun State governorship election. And why has this election been?
Our response will be, dear APC, what changed? Cardinal Onyekan was a hero in 2014. Why is he not an hero today? Is it because of the mandate? And whose mandate should Cardinal Onyekan speak for? Mandate of man or mandate of God and conscience? That's a question for you.
Governor Ademola Adeleke has issued a dramatic warning to President Bola Tinubu, invoking the painful memories of the 1983 political crisis. Why did he choose one of the darkest chapters in Nigeria's democracy or democratic history? Is election. Let's take a look at the video.
Need to be called to order. You are not the governor of Osun State. When you cheated me in 2018, I left you to govern. I traveled to America and I said exile. And I let you do what you have to do. Now I am back. I am back. I am back. I am back. I know. I have done very well for my state, and I am sure with what we have done, I'm going to win this second-term election. The light has come. This election, what we want is free and fair. If it is free and fair, I, Ademola, Jackson, Nurudin, Adeleke, your leader has a fear of God. He said, but we are using wisdom of Solomon to let us vote. President Tinubu, all your body, power, please wake up. Wake up. Wake up to your responsibility. We have endorsed you. Emma Kawamo, call the police people to order. The international community are watching all over the world. The kings are watching all over the world. Because the general election is 2007. And we want you to continue 2027. And we want you, our father, to continue your job. That this is going to be a test for you. Because you fought for this democracy. Don't let Oyetola spoil it for you. President Tinubu, Oyetola Osun, Senator Father will see on fire. President Tinubu, we are ready. We are ready. And we will defend our vote. There will be a resolution. There will be a revolution. That revolution will be August 15. And we shall overcome. We shall overcome. Thank you, God Almighty, we have overcome. I love you.
Ademola Adeleke has said that if what happens in 1983 repeats itself in Nigeria in this 2026, which is, the election is fast approaching, it should be around August 15th, that there will be a revolution. And what happened in 1983, so to say. Now, in 1983, Nigeria had general election under Shehu Shagari, and the then Oyo State, which is now Osun State, then was what they had in during that time, and the incumbent governor then was Bola, according to what the research we have here, Bola Ige, and the ruling party then wanted to take over power from the state governor then. And when the election was conducted, after it was conducted, many people believed that that election was shrouded in a lot of irregularities, and they didn't even wait to hear, okay, this is exactly how the results were conducted in different polling units. All they know, or what they had in their mind, was that, the federal wanted to take up the power, and there was a lot of riots, a lot of people burnt cars, houses were burnt down, people were reportedly killed, and that was what happened in 1983. And this is Ademola coming out to say that the same thing that happened then shouldn't repeat itself in this coming election. But joining me to have this conversation in the studio, I have Mr. Lucky Chidikanu. Good evening, sir. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm very well, thank you for having me.
All right, nice to have you. And then for the first time this year, and this, since Active Citizens began, we have somebody in the studio, and that is Mr. Kelvin Freeman, who has been joining via Zoom. Finally, he's live in the studio. Good evening, sir. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
It's really beautiful to have you join us for the conversation this evening.
It's my privilege.
All right, straight to the conversation. You heard what Ademola Adeleke has to say. Let's start with that speech. He has won the presidency. Mr. Chidi, let's hear your 2 cents.
Yes, he has warned Chief Bola Tinubu not to interfere and to provide them a level playing ground as far as the Osun election, governorship election is concerned.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it should go beyond that. The Osun governorship election is coming up, let's say, less than 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And if all that Adeleke, the governor of Osun State, is saying now is for Chief Bola Tinubu to provide them with a credible election, that I will say he's not serious. Why do I say he's not serious? Because Chief Bola Tinubu is not the person who goes into Osun to cast votes, as the case might be. And I've not heard that Chief Bola Tinubu mobilized the people to be to rig him out of the place. This is politics. And I believe that if you understand what is really going on in Osun State, he should be able to act as the chief security officer of that state. First of all, we heard about the arrest of his SSG.
Yes.
To start with. We heard all the issues coming out from Osun State. So invariably, that should send a signal to Governor Adeleke that his mandate is may be hijacked. You understand me?
Yeah.
By forces. I wouldn't say Chief Bola Tinubu. It's not everything we start mentioning Tinubu. Tinubu is not the INEC that is going to be the institution that is going to be in charge of this election. It's not Tinubu, you understand? But again, yes, behind the scenes, we know he's the commander-in-chief. We know he can exercise much power. So if Chief Governor Adeleke knew that Chief Bola Tinubu went to Edo State and told Edo people that he's going to give Edo people APC, and he ended up giving them APC. I have not heard Chief Bola Tinubu go to Osun State to tell them he's going to give them APC. However, he should have taken cue from what has happened. Now, my recommendation, if anybody close to Adeleke, is to look at what we are talking about, the active citizens heroes. In every polling unit, Adeleke should have a minimum of 20 people who are voters at those polling units, who should be able to display Nigerians all the from EC8S that are gotten from the polling units. I don't want a position when in 2 weeks time he will be shouting that they have rigged him out of power because he's unable to deal with what is within his environment. He is the chief officer of that state. And apart from that, if he has the mandate of the Osun State people, if the people wants to vote Governor Adeleke back for the second term, then he should be able to mobilize 20 active citizens on each polling unit who are independently to provide the form EC8S at each polling unit. Now, what happened in Edo State some time ago, when I said if they are unable to bring this, let them even not bother going to the courts. You understand me? Because there will be no evidence. It is the people, that the citizens around Osun State within those polling units, that will be able to tell Nigerians whether this the election is rigged or not by providing the polling unit results. Polling units results are available to citizens who came there to exercise their franchise, not necessarily even INEC observers or party faithfuls, as the case might be. So I say he should stop crying wolf. He understands the game. If he does not want to mobilize active citizens under non-partisan, to protect his vote, then he should wait and reconcile with Chief Bola Tinubu after the 15th of August.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now, over to you now, Mr. Kelvin. Ademola Adeleke, the governor of Osun State, has come out to the public, even cried out to the president about how his administration has been thwarted and how a lot of things have been going, a lot of brouhaha had been going on, both his members, people that were kidnapped, both some of the people that, have been killed, and all this is because he's not in APC government. He is now in a court party. And now, is it wrong for him to come out to say that the president should ensure that there is free and credible election come August 15th? That is one question. And then secondly, we know that the commissioner of police, who was withdrawn earlier in the state when they were having different attacks, have been redeployed into the same Osun state that they withdrew him from. Tunji Dusu withdrew him for. What do you have to say as regards that? Because a lot of people have said, according to the report I have here, that his tenure was marked by harassment, arbitrary arrest, human rights violation, intimidation, and all whatnot. But the same person have been returned back to office in the same Osun state. Let me hear your 2 cents.
Okay, thank you very much. Institutional readiness is apt in the overall development of electoral processes.
Okay.
And security is also a very important instrument to accomplishing a quality electoral process.
Right.
When Gotham was returned to Osun State, after the allegations of what happened previously, and how a lot of people who were alleged to have committed this crime were not arrested, you wouldn't blame Adeleke for crying out.
Okay.
You wouldn't blame him for calling on Chief Bola Tinubu to ensure that there is safety in the upcoming elections. However, that doesn't mean that Bola Tinubu is the electoral umpire. He doesn't have the responsibility to do so. An institution has been created to do that. So that institution must be seen to be active to deliver on demand. So another thing is that Adeleke should strengthen everyone that is necessary to participate in that election. Now that is in another party, he should ensure, just like Mr. Kano said, that he should have active citizens who will man every polling unit that day. You are talking about 20. If you can mobilize 50, 100, there is no crime about that. These people will act as watchdog and have all the information in that form EC this thing. Yes, to present when the chips are down. So he cried out because Gotham was returned, despite all the things that happened. Because if you look at that Osun State, even Osun State civil society organization accused him. A young boy of about 14 years was said to have been killed. One Master Ezekiel, so no arrest was made. So if you look at it, you will not say that Adeleke was not doing what he should do. For Christ's sake, he cried out loud. But then he should strengthen his own inner room to ensure that his men man the polling unit that day. So that's what I have to say.
Why should he even be crying? Let me get that. He is the chief security officer of the state.
But he's not in charge of
he is let me answer him. He is the chief security officer of the state, but he does not have control over the police, because the police we don't have state police. What have is federal police. If it were not so, the IG would not have redeployed Gotham to go back to Osun State, irrespective of all the cries and allegations that were meted against him, that he had a very wrong police conduct, that he couldn't arrest anybody, that a lot of things.
So why I asked that very question is because that very term, the chief security officer of the state, is just is standing on nothing. Most often the state governors are helpless, you understand? Now beyond that, I'm saying that he, as the governor of the state, have the strength to mobilize. He has the strength to make sure that he's represented at every polling unit. If election is to be free and fair, it must come from the citizens. It's not necessarily the security operatives you're talking about. The security operatives does not vote on that. They are not mandated to vote because they are doing their active duty. They are on active duty. Yes. So my expectation from the Osun State Governor is to make sure that every polling unit that democracy survives. And democracy survives when there is active citizens participation. And when there is active citizens participation, it also means that transparency and accountability at every polling unit must work. And he has the mandate of the state, meaning that he has state resources to work with, assuming he wishes to pay the people who are going to do this. Now, I'm not talking about these party agents. I'm talking about responsible, active Osun citizens.
Just hold on. I want to ask him a question because you've touched on this having active citizens, but what I want you to really touch on is the fact that there is a lot of witch hunting happening in Osun State. Let's not forget that he has complained about federal allocation not once, not twice. It's as if probably maybe there is a higher authority that is trying as much as possible to intimidate him, even having all the powers that you say that he has. So what I want to know now is, in as much as you say that he should have party agents, he should have people at the polling unit, what about the security aspect? Because he's looking as if even the commissioner of police is against him in the state. So how does he, apart from the citizen, how does he even ensure security in the polls?
Can I say
let me answer her. Okay. First of all, election is not about security forces. Election is about citizens who are going into their own village square to cast votes. The police does their work of staying by the side. They are not the people casting the votes. You understand? So always their role is security, providing security, assuming that there is such a thing as an attack. But we've also seen situations where even in the presence of police, ballot boxes were carted away with. And I will tell you, in the recent elections that we've had, both in Anambra and Edo State, it is no longer the percentage of ballot box snatching and scattering has gone away. You understand me? I can tell you that from Anambra to Edo and to Ekiti State that we just finished from, there you can score it a 99.5%. That just 5% probably, if there is such a thing as ballot snatching. So that era has gone. What I'm actually looking at straightforwardly is that if we have a democracy where a governor of a state will sensitize the people of Osun State to become active citizens, to own their democracy, because they are the one that ultimately owning the democracy. They are the one to cast the votes. All these things we keep citing about police coming to stop. How many times have you gone out to go and vote and police will tell you that you are not going to pass to go and vote? No, those things does not happen. But the rigging he is talking about does not happen at the polling unit, except if citizens allow that to happen. That's where I'm coming from. So if he is the governor of a state and he is loved by his state, he should be able to identify at least a minimum of 20 active citizens who can stand their ground on each polling unit. At the end of the day, if what he is trying to invoke now, that Bola Tinubu wants to take over his state, he will have evidence. But let me bet you that at the end of 2 weeks' time, when that poll will be cast, Adeleke, Governor Adeleke may not have a credible from EC8As to defend the fact that his mandate has been stolen.
All right, thank you so much for that. Now let me come to you, Mr. Calvin. The population of Osun State is around 5.8 million approximately. Let me just leave it at that. Now, a lot of people will say that this August 15th election is more like a test run for 2027. Let's analyze if INEC, for all the elections that have been conducted, both in Ekiti State, both in FCT, what would you score INEC preparedness for 2027 so far? And do you think that truly this upcoming election in Osun State is more like a test run for 2027?
Well, it is, I would say, but one thing you must know is that, let's take for instance when the new INEC umpire came on board, Anambra State was his first ground for which his his capacity was tested.
Yeah.
And we all saw how, you know, the election was conducted. It was free and fair, maximally. And then the results were all seen, and then, you know, how peaceful it was. So I would say that 2027 election test board is going to be as a result of this coming election. However, it is also very important to state, like just like you mentioned about that our Osun State population is about 5.something million. It depends on the number of people who have actually registered, because INEC kept saying it, go and register, go and register, and I think the registration stopped on the 24th of July.
Yeah,
just about 2 weeks ago.
31st of July. Yeah, 31st of July. Yeah.
Okay, so you could see, so it is the strength of the voters that will determine the clarity and the sensitivity of this election. For example, if we have about 90% of Osun people who are registered voters come out that day to vote, where will the rigor come from? Where will it come from? Because most people are present to see the election, not just seeing themselves casting votes, they also seeing themselves protecting the votes.
Yeah, but some people come there with arms.
Yes, we agree.
Yeah, and that is why they cut away with ballot box, and you hear a lot of, you know, electoral.
When was the last time that that's something, cutting away ballot boxes and all that?
Now
happened?
let me remind you of what happened, which we discussed here. Election has not begun in Osun State, but we had information that more like group of armed men stormed the polling units or something of that sort in Osun State and carted away with PVCs and some other electoral materials. But what I'm trying to say now is that the question I asked then is, if PVAS and PVC can be carted away with arms when election is not yet conducted, what more of the election day? Which was the question I asked them.
Let me address one thing. What the report that you obviously cited has to do with INEC office. Probably INEC office were attacked by military, armed personnel. Now, it is different on election day. Election day is not an INEC office.
Yeah.
Election day is an open grounds where people are voting. And police is being deployed at every nook and cranny of most states when such election is ongoing.
Yeah.
So you will not be carrying arm and be moving from one polling unit to the other to attack people. You understand me? And let me also remind you, just like you cited in your question about the general elections, if Nigerian police is able to deploy 1,000 personnel to Osun State during the general election, they may not be able to deploy 500 personnel. You understand me?
Yeah.
The reason is simple. In a general election, there is so much logistics to be dealt with, because you are dealing with 37 states. I'm talking about 36 plus FCT on the same day. So Nigerian police does not have the kind of manpower to deploy the kind of personnel they are sending to Osun on a general election day. So it will not be the same thing with the general election.
All right.
And again, we are already, as active citizens, we are already mobilizing citizens to become actively involved in the 2027 general election. By virtue of that, our expectation is that 20 people per polling unit should have the desired evidence, democratic evidence, which is from EC8A, which are the original results from the polling units.
All right.
So, okay.
Now,
Mr. Kelvin, see what I want you. See what I want you.
Hold on. Can I add something?
Yes,
to what you
I
said?
want you to add something when I ask you the next question. So just tie it together. Now, Osun State Governor has come out to issue a warning, which we have discussed earlier. But he mentioned the event or incidents that happened in 1983, when a lot of houses were burnt, a lot of things, and the one that same incident might reoccur again if care is not taken. Now, you know that Osun State Governor is more like so endearing to the people of Osun. Do you see such an incident reoccurring again? And then tie it to what you want to.
Okay, first of all, we are talking about security. Mr. Cardinal made a statement. He said that the police would deploy a greater number of people during the elections. And the purpose of deploying these men and officers of the Nigerian police is to ensure security. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So have you seen the importance of police in the election to ensure that there is absolute security during the election? Now, Gotham, who was accused of unprofessional policing and not arresting people who ordinarily were accused of violence in the state, was returned by the IGP. Now, like I said before, Adeleke does not have power over the police because he is not a state police. So if he is crying that, look, Your Excellency Bola Tinubu, ensure that we have credible election in the state, it means he's actually asking Mr. President, to ensure that the police function as they should. Because, for example, you cited something about people coming to the polling unit with guns during elections, and you see people cutting away. And if a gunshot is released, do you think one or two persons? How many are
protecting it? Exactly.
Would you stay? If you hear a gunshot at your polling unit, would you stay?
I'll run. No.
So it will only take those who are armed, which is the security officers, to ensure that such things are deterred. That is one. Two. I am not too comfortable with what Adeleke said about 1983 election, which happened during I think the President Shehu Shagari also. Yeah, Shehu Shagari. You don't invite chaos when we haven't seen one. Two, we believe, like I said before, institutional capacity to deliver on demand, which is the function of INEC.
Yeah.
I think INEC should be very, very patriotic in this election.
They haven't been.
Well, let me respond to something that is being missed here.
Adeleke should be calling on INEC to be patriotic.
But haven't INEC been?
Let me mention something to you guys. We need to be honest with ourselves. Nigerians do not see INEC as credible institution. Nigerians do not, at this very point, feel that INEC has the capacity to conduct a credible election. Now that is people's opinion.
Yeah.
And they are entitled to their opinion.
Definitely.
But there is something that those people, whether you agree that INEC can actually conduct a credible election or not, what can you do as a citizen who is a voter? INEC has provided an easy playing ground to the extent it does not ask you to come to their office to come and vote. It goes to you for you to vote in your own comfort zone. And if you are unable to protect that vote that happens at your own comfort zone, go and blame INEC. Go to court. I mean, it's something that all Nigerians know. So if Osun people, and I want us to probably end it here, if Osun people cannot be able to protect their own mandate at their own polling unit, at their own comfort zone, they should go to court.
Interesting. Go to court.
Yes, I agree with him.
And if you don't protect
data is the basis of all of this.
Definitely. Data. But it is an important story that I want us to tie with Rufai's story, which is the growing controversy in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and Nigerian in the diaspora says he borrowed about £75 in the United Kingdom to invest back home, only to watch the...
About a week ago that they were coming to claim this land
under daylight without even prior notification. Let's take a look at the video and then we'll join it to what Rufai said earlier that we watched before the towards the beginning of the show. Let's take a look.
Nobody has £75 or 75,000.
Myself on Sunday to shut the place down and start evacuating my equipment. Months, about a week ago that they were coming to claim this land from nowhere. Nobody gave me any notification. Nobody came to me with any form of notice. I decided by myself on Sunday to shut the place down and start evacuating my equipments by myself. On Monday, I evacuated some things. Tuesday morning, I had welders here, I had carpenters here, I had masons here, I had people dismantling things. Around 12:01, around 12:01 in the afternoon, bulldozers just came. They saw people on the roof, taking out wood, welders working. They told them to come down and bulldoze the whole place to the ground. Nobody gave me notice. I took a loan from the UK, £75,000 to come and invest in Nigeria. You people say we should come back from diaspora to invest in Nigeria. I've never done one government contract. I don't know anybody in government. I'm not even interested. I came with money from the UK to invest here. So I have to deal with that loan now. 84 staff. 84!
You know, most times, but I don't blame those people that are stealing, because this is one of the major reasons why people go outside to steal. The government are not helping matters a lot. They are not. The little place we are working to feed our family, and they have taken it away from us.
Nigeria has happened to me. This is where I feed my family. This is where I don't even have anything to say, but all I just want to say is that I am disappointed in Nigerian government.
What change was asking President Bola Tinubu, because in around 2010, 2015 and 2015 to 2023, this same bishop Oloyekan or something of that nature came out to criticize the Goodluck's administration, saying that there is a lot of insecurity in the land, and urged the president then to protect the lives and properties of Nigerians. And a lot of people called him an icon. But this 2026 now, the same man has gone to Arise TV to criticize the government on the growing concern on insecurity, and then everybody is, lambasting him, everybody is bashing him. And Rufai has come out to say what changed. That is number one conversation. Probably you, Mr. Chidi Kanu, can attempt to. And then secondly, we saw the video we just watched right now. A Nigerian, let me just call him a patriotic Nigerian, came back because, we have been saying, telling them, come back to Nigeria and invest, come back to your fatherland and invest. He came back, invested, borrowed like 75,000, pounds from, from UK, and everything just came crashing. His house got demolished. 84 staff were left and stranded without job. Let me start with you, Mr. Chidi.
Okay, let me just try to let out my opinion as far as Cardinal is concerned. These bishops went to see Tinubu. These are the real Catholic bishops. These are not those permutations of our bishops that we saw in 2023. These are real bishops. Yeah. And Catholic Church is something to be reckoned as far as Nigeria is concerned, politically and otherwise. So I heard the discussions that were on when Tinubu was very tensed, and I heard all what he said about him contesting wrestling with other people and the rest of it. But I also heard the version that also with the communication from the cardinals and the bishops. Now, I feel at this point that American did the right thing by going to TV to tell Nigerians they are part of the story, because the presidency have their own pattern of giving out a different story of what transpired at the villa. And of course, that is their own home base. They have their cameras, they have their videos and everything, but they always want to bring it to favor the discussion on their own side. So when the bishop come out to criticize the government, the insecurity they are talking about, we are seeing it in the high. Just yesterday, I heard that a very prominent petroleum man in Anambra State was kidnapped. You understand?
Yeah.
And several other places we heard about even soldiers being eyed on the war front, as the case may be. So several things are going wrong, and Nigerians keep talking and it's not working. But I will say one thing: the clergy, I'm talking about these bishops, they have their congregations, and these congregations, we must have active citizens among this congregation. Why are they not reaching out to their congregation to get out the active citizens in them and demand that they protect the votes at each polling unit? Why are they not demanding for such? I understand that theirs is of faith, and they must, always tell people to have hope. Jesus Christ is coming very soon. When you die, you are going to heaven and all that. But first, people have to eat to survive, and waiting for the day that the Jesus Christ will come. And I have no doubt he is going to come. But people will have to eat to survive when he comes. Now, let them preach the gospel that has to deal with people being active citizens to help themselves.
All right.
Jesus will be very proud of them. God will be very proud of them.
Definitely.
Because if citizens undertake their roles at each polling unit, we will not be thinking about somebody rigging any election, because the person you are citing, as a matter of fact, whenever I hear now that Tinubu is going to rig election in certain states, I become angry, because I know that Bola Tinubu will never be in Osun State on the day of the election. That is not his polling unit. So why are you saying he's going to rig you?
All right.
Is he going to be in each of these polling units, or Nigerians are going to be?
All right.
Why are not the men of God, my question is, why are not the men of God using their purpose to educate Nigerians to become active citizens, giving them a civic education of what their rights are at each polling unit? That is not going against the government.
Right.
That is giving the citizen the right to possess what is rightfully theirs, the polling unit.
All right.
Thank
you
very
never
much.
said anything about the demolition, though.
Oh, sorry about that. My contribution on that, £75,000 is a whole lot of money. When you do the conversion, you understand that will make an average person in Nigeria to be very comfortable. Now, for the man who come all the way down, as promised by our government, that they make a very conducive environment. Before moving to Abuja, I think the man should have read the writing on the wall. That is wicked, which is an equivalent of wickedness, that is in Abuja, and he would have probably done his feasibility studies very well. Maybe he did. Let me not maybe he did his feasibility studies and find out that these things happen, but he will be able to shoulder it, as the case might be.
All right.
I'm so sorry about what happened to him, but people should first check very well the environment where they need to invest to see whether the government over there is hostile or is a friendly government, irrespective of what you are told on the open.
All right, thank you so much. Over to you now, Mr. Kelvin.
Yeah.
In 2015, the APC administration was against Goodluck Jonathan. They praised this same Cardinal for standing or speaking truth to power. In 2026, this same man is said to speak truth to power, and everybody is against him, most importantly, the APC government. Rufai of Arise News is saying now what's changed, and then let me have your take on this.
Okay, thank you very much. You should understand one thing. Criticism is an integral part of every democratic environment.
Yeah.
In fact, criticism is not meant to bring down a government. Criticism is meant to sit right a government.
Yeah.
So Cardinal Onaikon didn't do any wrong thing for coming out to tell us a part of what their discussion was at the villa. Going to the villa is not joining the secret court.
Yeah.
And there was nothing wrong that Cardinal Onaikon came out to tell us the discussions they had and what he told Mr. President. It wasn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
The first thing that happened was that Cardinal was able to give an understanding of how Nigerians feel, of what Nigerians are going through.
Yeah.
talk about kidnapping, he just cited an instance of a petroleum man who was kidnapped in Anambra, who was allegedly kidnapped in Anambra.
Yeah.
Just, I think yesterday, it was alleged that 4 police officers, kidnapped somebody in Imo State, put him in a boot and whisking off.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
As of today, I think they've been arrested. I think they've been dismissed or something. So we are talking about in the last 24 hours. So now you discover that Onaikon did not do anything bad. Onaikon simply represented the feelings of Nigerians. And I think what Mr. President should do is to look critically into what Onaiko presented.
Definitely.
And see how he would amend situation so that kidnapping can stop.
Definitely.
Hunger can stop.
Definitely.
Violence can stop.
Sure.
Buying can stop.
Definitely.
And all kinds of vices that are associated with our society.
Definitely.
So that's what I look at it.
Thank you so much for that beautiful submission. Now over to you, Mr. Cardinal. Many people hear the words theory of change and immediately assume it is something only academics or even development experts talk about. In simple language, what does it actually mean? And why have you made it the intellectual foundation of the Active Citizens Polling Unit Heroes program, Mr. Khan?
You know, whenever you talk about the Active Citizens Heroes program, I'm excited. And the reason I'm excited is because that is what is going to give power back to the Nigerians come 2027. Nothing else. It is Nigerians by Nigerians, and Nigerians need just to believe that their votes will count by simply being at the polling unit and guiding their votes and transmitting such if they do not believe on the INEC. So the theory of change that we keep talking about simply answers one very important question. How do we move from where we are today? You know, you asked that very question earlier. How do we move from where we are today to where we want to be in 2027? So every serious program like the Active Citizens program must answer that very question, and that is what we are answering in that very program on the theory of change. For us, the challenge is very clear. Many Nigerians no longer believe that elections are transparent. I mentioned that before. Many believe their votes do not count. That is what you see on the streets today, and that is what Adeleke is voicing out in what he called Tinubu trying to rig him, as the case might be. Now, that is the loss of confidence that has produced voter apathy, frustration, and disengagement. Now, our theory of change says that this situation can be changed. We believe that when citizens are informed, organized, trained, and supported with appropriate technology to transmit the polling unit results, they become capable of participating peacefully, lawfully, and responsibly in democratic processes. Responsible participation improves the transparency that we are expecting, so that we stop shouting about rigging. So transparency, as we know, builds trust and confidence. So public confidence ultimately strengthens the democracy in Nigeria. So that simple progression is the foundation upon which this entire Active Citizen Heroes program has been designed.
All right, thank you. That sounds really inspiring and interesting. But many viewers may be asking the question, how do you move from the theory to reality? What or how exactly does the program Active Citizen Heroes work?
From theory to practical, that is, let's say in 2023, what we witnessed was a theory, because a lot of Nigerians believe that their votes will count, but what they failed to do is protecting their votes at each polling unit. That is what ultimately happened. So to answer your question, the Active Citizen Heroes program follows 7 progressive stages, and the stages are: first, we create awareness through civic education. People must understand their democratic rights and responsibilities. Second, we encourage mobilization. Citizens register through the NG Post platform as either eyewitness reporters or volunteers, and they become they have the capacity to develop the entire program itself by way of training and willingness to compete in that very given field. Participants learn civic education, election procedures, ethical conduct, digital reporting, and peaceful engagement. Fourth is also deployment on the election day. We certify these polling unit heroes to return to their own polling units, not outside their own polling units, but their own polling units with their own PVCs. They educate voters within their communities. You observe lawfully things that are happening there, document what happens, and submit verified reports through the NG polls. And NG polls is all about transparency, communication of real-time election results that everybody can see, and not to replace INEC. NG poll does not declare election result. Rather, it gives the citizens the ability to view polling unit results, one polling unit at a time, and then we know where any issue is coming from. Then, but the other thing again has to do with transparency. When credible information replaces rumors, public trust begins to grow. Sixth is about recognition. Nigerians will want to be recognized for doing the nice work of standing on their polling unit on that election day. So the Active Citizens Heroes program also looks at the point where we have to recognize people as heroes after the election, for recognizing them for what they did on the election day. Now, recognition encourages excellence and inspires other people for upcoming elections also. So finally, the long-term democratic impact is what we are going to feel, which means that communities become more engaged in election processes, young people become more involved in public, and public confidence increases. So democracy even itself becomes much stronger because citizens become stronger. And that is the complete journey of how these things will go.
All right, thank you so much for that robust education. Now, finally on this, I want to ask, if every Nigerian were watching this program this evening, what message would you like to leave them with, Mr. Kanu?
My message to Nigerians has always been very simple. Democracy does not belong to politicians. They don't own it. On the election day, like Osun that is coming, you are going to see the party agents, and you are also going to see the INEC officers, and you are going to see the security operative. These people does not own your polling units. They are actually guests. They are visitors to those polling units, but you own it. So democracy belongs to citizens. Every election begins at the polling unit, and that is why I say that the polling unit is the primary unit of democracy. Yes, I repeat, the primary unit of democracy. The future of Nigerian democracy do not depend only on government institutions alone, like the INEC we keep talking about. It does not depend on them. It must also depend on informed, organized, and responsible citizens who refuse to leave their polling unit after they would have casted their votes. That is why we are inviting Nigerians to become part of this movement. Whether you are a student, a teacher, artisan, entrepreneur, professional, retiree, religious leader like Onekon, there is a place for you to become part of this very new active citizens community committed to a useful participation, transparency, and accountability. And our vision is simple: to transform passive voters into active citizens, and together we can rebuild public confidence in Nigerian democracy. And I believe that that is what Nigerians should be looking at. I'm encouraging the Bishop Onaiko. I'm encouraging the Adeleke, the people we just discussed about that are concerned about Nigerian. You cannot be concerned about Nigerian if you do not stand in your pulpit and encourage Nigerians to become active citizens, especially owning their polling units. You need to tailor your sermon on each Sunday to telling Nigerians to go back to the drawing board at their polling unit to own. And if Osun State is, after the election of Osun State, if nobody is able to produce the Form EC8As as citizens, they should go to court, right? That is what we're expecting. They should go to court, and that is what I make, and the presidency will tell you. But there's one thing that they will be the one to tell INEC to go to court if they are able to produce their Form EC8As at every given polling unit and show it to Nigerians. Then they will tell INEC to go to court and not the other way around.
Well said. I would have given you a handshake, but I'm far away from you. But thank you so much for sharing those beautiful insights. And to you, Mr. Kelvin, thank you so much for contributing to the course of this conversation. It shows, like I always say, that you guys are active citizens. And of course, kudos to myself because I'm equally an active citizen. And to every active citizens watching right now, this is Evening Parliament right here on Active Citizens. Thank you so much for watching. The conversation might end here on this table, but it continues in the comment section. Do well to subscribe, do well to share, like, comment, follow us across all socials at Active Citizens. Until we see you later tomorrow for more updates on the political sphere and more updates. It might be on different issues bordering the country, but from here to you, we say good evening, Nigerians.